In this video, guys, I want to talk about the biggest hidden trap related to the Grim Forest content. Now, this update should be live in game most likely either tomorrow, either the day after, and I want to make sure that you guys are prepared for it and you're going to avoid this mistake at pretty much all costs, because this will make the difference if you're going to be able to complete the Grim Forest rotation and collect all of the rewards, or you won't be able to do so. Welcome to the channel, everyone. I'm Skratch. As usual, this is another Raid Shadow Legends video. I am currently on the test server, and we are going to discuss about the biggest mistake you should avoid for the Grim Forest content. If you guys enjoy the content, do me a solid. Smash a like, subscribe to the channel. I am doing daily guides, news, tips and tricks, covering pretty much everything related to Raid Shadow Legends. So this is definitely the right place to be. Plus, I really appreciate it. So, as I was saying, I am on the test server. That's why I have access to the content, and that's why I have 1 million gems. But I know a lot of you guys will put that in the comments. Either way, guys, when you start the Grim Forest, there is a very hidden thing that might cost you, and that is related to the team decks and the way you build them. So, depending on what difficulty you're going to choose, normal mode, you're going to require 2 decks for each one of the difficulties, normal mode or hard mode. For normal mode, you're going to need 20 champions in total, 10 champions in each deck. For hard mode, you're going to need 40 champions in total, 20 champions in each deck. Now, the biggest mistake is if you are locking this deck, you cannot change anything. You start the rotation with the deck, and if you are missing specific champions, is game over, okay? If you're missing some of the most important debuffs or the most important effects, you're not gonna be able to do anything to change that, okay? So, before you even rush to jump into it, as soon as the update is live in game, to build your deck and all this stuff, you gotta make sure you're paying attention to the right things. So in order to help you guys, I've prepared a deck builder guide to make sure that you guys are gonna get this right. There will be important effects, debuffs, buffs, type of champions that you will need. And I'm gonna walk you through all of the details on how you can make the most out of it. But I'm going to repeat it probably for another million times in this video to make sure that you guys avoid this crucial mistake. It's literally almost like a hidden trap. If you're not aware of it and you select all of your champions in the deck, let's just say you go randomly and select the 20 best champions you have on your account, but you might be missing a very important thing. For example, a heal reduction, or maybe good thermometer manipulation, or HP burn, or God knows what other effects, you're gonna be in trouble. Because right now, my deck is set, right? I've done a lot of the stages. I cannot change anything. This deck is already set up. Now, of course, it will be a lot of RNG when you are going to each one of the stages, because you're gonna draw these champions randomly. And you might still not get the right champion that you want to have in your deck to help you defeat that specific stage that you're trying to challenge. But the good news are that you can actually redraw with these tokens. And if this is not good, maybe this is good, and the champion that you needed to be in your team will be selectable. Very important to pay attention to this. So we're gonna go okay with it. It's fine. Personally, I do have a very stacked endgame account. I did not find any of the waves challenging, at least not yet. I did had to use a redraw before, and that was a fight versus the same boss you're seeing right here, Whittier the Crowned, and that is mainly because the game did not select any champions that can strip buffs or apply heal reduction. And because of it, Whittier was constantly healing back, and I was not able to kill her. So I had to back out, use the redraw token to be able to get a different champion that can either strip buffs, either apply heal reduction. Some of the bosses that we have in here, and I'm talking about the main bosses, not necessarily the champion bosses that are pretty much everywhere. We have 7 new bosses in total. One of them will be, of course, the Greedy Goblin, which is similar with a clan boss. You're not going to be able to kill the boss. It has unlimited HP. You're going to have to reach specific milestones in order to get the rewards from here, right? You're getting XP, you're getting tons of different things, but you're not going to kill this boss. The boss can kill you, it's fine, you don't have to worry about it. As you can probably notice, these bosses are all located at the end of the path. It's not like they're going to block you from moving on to the next path or anything like that, because they are literally at the edge of it. So you do not have to kill them or anything like that. Then you have the Mimic. Now, in order to defeat the Mimic, you need good thermometer manipulation. Heal reduction is going to be extremely important versus this boss and other bosses as well, which can be champion bosses. But heal reduction versus this boss is going to be extremely, extremely helpful. So you want to make sure you do have that in as a debuff. Then, of course, you have the other 5 bosses. I'm quickly going to try to find them right here on the map. It's a huge freaking map. We have this boss, for example, which has specific mechanics. Then we have the other ones, which will have their own mechanics that you got to make sure you are basically ticking the boxes to. If not, you're not going to be able to deal with those bosses. We have this one, for example. You will need HP burn on some of them to make sure they're not going to reflect so much damage back onto you. You have the main boss, which introduces new debuffs. You have another one that puts the poison cloud, and before that he cleanses, so block buffs is not going to be as effective. Having buff strippers that do not actually attack in the process are very, very important, just to strip that buff without actually attacking, so you don't weak hit. Having maybe an affinity breaker set, things like this will be extremely important. But what do we need to do in order to build the best deck? So I am working on a very in-depth guide for the Green Forest. I will be releasing this most likely tomorrow. I should be releasing it together with the content. So either tomorrow, either Thursday, whenever they're going to release the update, and we're going to go over tons of different things. But in today's video, I want to talk about how to build the perfect deck. You cannot change you cannot change that once you are selecting it. That's it. You started with that, and for the entire rotation, the entire month, you are stuck with that deck. That's why it's so important. That's why I'm repeating it a million times, because I know I'm gonna see people putting it in the comments. Oh my god, I had no idea, I've messed it up. But I'm gonna read you basically everything that I wrote right here. Building your deck right will be extremely important, as you will not be able to change the champion selected for the rotation only after it's finished and a new rotation starts. Reshuffling tokens do not refresh the deck creation. They only reshuffle the champion selection for the specific stage you are trying to challenge. As I just showed you before, if I'm gonna go versus this stage, I'm gonna draw my champions, and it picks the champions from the 2 decks that I already created. Now, in order to defeat this boss, I might need to have a very specific champion. Let's just say, in order to defeat this boss, I need to have Turvold in the team. Okay, it's just a pure example. Turvold won't be a key champion in any particular content. Or let's just say Ramantu, okay? I'm gonna redraw to try and get that Ramantu on. This is the second one. I've missed it. I'm going to try it again. Again, I've missed it. But this is the only thing that a redraw token does, okay? It will not allow you to change the champions in your actual decks. Very, very important to remember that part. Now, making sure that you are bringing in the right champions will be crucial, as you will need specific debuffs, buffs, positive and negative effects in order to defeat some of the stages and bosses. Making the mistake of rushing to select the champions for your deck can cost you the rewards from an entire rotation. The most important thing related to this game mode, that hidden trap. The gear and the builds will not be locked with the creation of the decks. So you can select the champions in your decks with no gear whatsoever, and you can adjust their builds individually for every single stage that you are defeating. Maybe you're gonna wanna go versus this stage, and right here, as an example, you will need to have a very fast champion or very high accuracy, or you might want to move the Savage gear from your Sick friend, you might want to move it to Little Miss Annie because she's gonna be more important in here. You can do that, okay? So the gear is not locked. You have full freedom of customizing builds for each stage individually. So it's not like you need to have a million champions build with the best possible gear in the world. You can move that gear around. Now, the champion selection will always be random and different for every stage you challenge. You've seen that. We reshuffled. The champions are random from each one of the decks. But the game will automatically shuffle an equal number of champions from each deck. Deck 1 and deck 2. If you're going to shuffle 10 champions, 5 will be from deck 1, 5 will be from deck 2. Okay? So there is no hidden secret or RNG in here. No RNG mechanic. It's pretty much like, take for example, normal mode. You need 20 champions in total. You have 2 decks, 10 champions in each. The game will automatically shuffle 5 champions from each one of them every time for every single stage. Some of the hard stages, they are some of them that either appear in with a different color, either something like that. They will not allow you to draw 10 champions or 20 champions. They will have a reduced number of how many champions you can actually select. So for example, this is a hidden location right here. I cannot get to it no matter what I'm doing. I have to go around. It's gonna take me too much time. Let's see if I can find a different one just to try and show you. It will give you a reduced number of champions. So that is considered more like a challenge, because instead of having 10 champions available out of your 20, you're gonna have, let's just say, 6 champions available. But that is basically the whole difficulty of that game mode. But only a few of them will actually be conditional like that. Then, the actual draw rates mechanics / algorithm for how the game selects the characters from each one of the decks are still unknown. We have no idea if the game prioritizes an equal amount of damage dealers, support champions, revivers, etc. But I highly doubt it that their algorithm is smart enough to select the right champions for the bosses. For example, one of the bosses will need heal reduction in order to defeat it. You cannot do it without it. It's just a hypothetical example, right? The game won't have such a smart algorithm to always shuffle you a heal reduction champion. So making the most out of those reshuffle tokens is going to be extremely important. Now, you will be able to purchase a few from the vendor, but I would not mess around with them just to bring in my most favorite champion in the team, because you're going to quickly run out of them and you're going to end up at a different stage where you need a key champion in there and you won't have any reshuffle tickets because you've wasted them around just to make your life easier and have stick front in every single team, as an example, right? So make sure you guys are paying attention to that as well. Now, based on what we know so far at the moment, I would recommend you to build your 2 decks in the following way to increase the chances to get an equal amount of champions, support, damage dealers, etc. in your teams. When you build deck 1, build it with damage dealers only. No revivers, no supports. But one thing to note, you will need debuffers to deal with bosses and stage mechanics, which means heal reduction, turn meter manipulation. Maybe you need crowd control if you're struggling with some of the waves. So what I would do, let's just say we're building a deck for normal mode, 10 champions in deck 1, 10 champions in deck 2. I would most likely put in, for example, 7, 8 damage dealers. I will bring in a some champions that land defense down, weaken, champions that strip buffs, a champion that can put heal reduction, and I will put 2-3 of these champions in deck 1 together with 7 damage dealers. In deck 2, I would put 7 supports, 4-5 revivers, healers, cleansers, champions that buff with immunity, but I will put in a few debuffers as well in that deck to make sure that whenever the selection happens for each stage, 5 and 5 champions, we're gonna get the champions that we need, and we're gonna get an equal amount, more or less, from each one of the decks. Yes, you could probably do the math for it and kind of like see how many of each champion you need in each deck to maximize your chances to have the game select the right champions for you. But because the algorithm is unknown at the moment, I think that's not going to be very helpful, because you might be doing the math for something that won't end up in being the right algorithm, okay? So that's what I would recommend you when you are building your decks. One with supporters, one with damage dealers, and add in each one of those 2 decks some debuffers, champions that will bring in the following key mechanics, right? So let's talk about important type of champions. I'm not going to name you the champions. I'm going to tell you what mechanics you need. Revivers and healers, cleansers and block debuffs buff, immunity. They will be extremely, extremely important. In some cases, crowd control champions. Now, personally, with my super stacked account, I don't really feel the need that I need to crowd control the waves like I would do it in a Curse City or Faction Wars hard mode stage and constantly rely on stuns left and right. I do not feel that. Any of these bosses that are part of the stages, even though they are champion bosses, they are immune to crowd control debuffs. So those debuffs will only make sense if you are running them to help you with your progression versus waves if you are struggling. Buff strippers will be extremely, extremely important. The debuffers, defense down, weaken. Maybe you need decrease attack because you're not able to survive. Some of the bosses will be immune to decreased speed, so it's not as important as you might think. Block buffs, HP burn, heal reduction are the most important ones. Important buffs. Having protected buffs will be one of the most important things. A lot of the main bosses will remove buffs, things that will either enhance their damage or capabilities in a way or another. So your best bet is to have protected buffs. Either champions that already have that in their skill sets, either champions that will be built on protection. Then, if we are talking about some important buffs, an increased speed, immunity is the most important one, increased attack, increased defense, shields, increased accuracy in some cases if you do not have good accuracy on your champions, strengthen, unkillable, block damage. I haven't seen any of the bosses to ignore unkillable or block damage, and I'm talking about the 7 main bosses. Then, important debuffs. This is the most important and crucial thing. Having the right debuffs and negative effects will be crucial for your progression, as you cannot change the decks once you create them. I know, I said it again. Some bosses stages will require specific debuffs and negative effects in order to defeat them. Must have debuffs and effects. Now, you can consider in selecting multiple champions with these effects to ensure that you will draw them in your teams. You've seen we've done a reshuffle 3 times to try and get Ramantu as the single champion that we hypothetically said is extremely important, and we did not manage to draw him in the team. So having more than one of those champions that is key will be very, very important. Heal reduction being one of the most important debuff. HP burn, one of the most important one as well. Buff strippers, extremely, extremely important. Termeter manipulation champions, extremely important. Either you buff your Termeter, but mainly champions that reduce the Termeter from the enemies. Block buffs, the most important debuff as well. One of the most important ones. Then you can have other debuffs that can be very helpful, but they shouldn't necessarily be on your priority list. Reflect debuff effects. Maybe you have a Yumeko, throw her with the hacks, bang, you reflect debuffs onto bosses. Destroy max HP debuffs can be great versus the Mimic. Decrease attack, decrease speed, decrease defense, decrease accuracy and resistance. Maybe a Lady Kimi She does a lot of things. You should always look for champions that tick as many boxes as possible, right? Weaken to boost your damage, block active skills and passives for waves, crowd control for waves, increase cooldown for waves, etc. Important gear sets. The protection gear set will be most likely the most important set you can have on your buffer/support champions to make sure that the enemies will not remove your buffs. I mean, to make sure. It's still a chance to for that to happen. Affinity Breaker. That is one of the bosses that will put a poison cloud on himself. Block buffs will not work because he will cleanse right before applying that buff. So, if you are not able to basically draw one of the champions that will remove buffs without attacking, so they won't weak hit, maybe an Arbais. She strips buffs without attacking, so she can remove that poison cloud. Then you might want to look at an Affinity Breaker set that you can easily equip on one of the champions for that specific stage, and that can be very, very helpful. I'm not going to talk about savage sets and all that stuff, but one thing that I'm going to talk about is the fact that we do not need stun sets everywhere to make this game mode possible, okay? That's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to cover in this video. I want you guys to avoid that mistake that can cost you the rewards for an entire rotation. Maybe not all of the rewards, but if you're stuck on a specific stage and you cannot clear the entire map, or you have multiple stages where you're stuck, you might not be able to progress further on some of these spots because some of them are completely disconnected from other areas. It's not like you can just make circles all around. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I will be doing tons of different videos and guides talking about champions, teams, boss guides, pretty much everything that you need to know about the Green Forest. So make sure you guys smash that subscribe. As usual, appreciate every single one of you guys watching. Much love, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.